In this video, I will once again be exploring how a map as old as 15 years, oh my god, has changed in this latest Battlefield entry. This remake is a bit closer to its original form than Railway to Galmud is, but they both do similar things in changing the density of cover, sightlines, theming, and the overall map composition. The most noticeable of all the changes would be the setting. No longer cursed to being perpetually blue by Battlefield 3, Cairo Bazaar is set in, you guessed it, Cairo. Maybe we'll see it as part of an Egyptian operation soon. Grand Bazaar was defined by its square shape and how each outer street was long and generally open, while going deeper into the map would lead to a variety of alleyways and passages. Lots of these pathways and connectors remained the same across the versions, with only small changes to their cover and visuals, while the streets on the outside have seen much bigger changes, along with some of the objectives in the outer corners. Before we get into the objectives, let's start with a brief look at the NATO headquarters. It's a little different. Battlefield 3 had you just spawning in a corner stall. Battlefield 6 has you spawning in a place that feels a bit more connected to the whole town. It's still a corner, but it seems a bit more believable and a bit less video game arena-y. It also still features some of the connectors to farther places in the map. And the buildings and stuff around it are more detailed, destructible, or enterable, so any mode that brings you close enough to this side of the map will have proper gameplay possibilities. Now on to Objective A, the square. Finally living up to its name, the square is now an actual square instead of just a parking lot. There's a monument dominating the center, and off to the edge, the hotel building is now burning. This building is very cool to look at, but not enterable. Behind it is a small parking area where a tank could maybe hide to repair or set an ambush. But back to the objective, and here we see how, once again, areas are being fleshed out with less cover. This is one of the few objectives to see a reduction in general stuff. Most of the cover is actually surrounding the objective, making for a sort of circular combat area. Unlike some of Battlefield 6, and the Galmud remake, it doesn't feel too cluttered or claustrophobic. But there's enough detail here to still make it a believable and defendable place. As we start to move towards Objective B, the changes become far more significant. In Grand Bazaar, the street between A and B is short and very empty. The street in Cairo Bazaar now has some cars, along with this new archway, which can be destroyed by explosives or the IFEs. When you get to Objective B, it's surprisingly similar to its original Battlefield 3 version. It features a bus and a few cars in a corner, along with some other simple cover. Surrounding it are more changes, like this building which can be entered and circled around. Another place for an IFE to hide, maybe. More of the buildings along the edges are also enterable, and there's more destructibles as well. There isn't much else to be said about this place, but a few extra visual comparisons should nicely show how it's shaped up in this remake. Moving clockwise through the map leads us to Objective E, the market. But before we get there, there's a few changes to this street too. For one, it's a little bit higher. There isn't a direct view from end to end, instead it's sort of on a hill, with a lot of debris and cover littered around as usual. There's also this cool tipped over bit of scaffolding leaning against the neighboring building. If only we could bring it down. Add Objective E now, and the market has gotten a bit more popular and a lot more colorful. In matches, these stalls are some of the first to be destroyed. The objective goes from being one of the most dense areas of the map to being quite flat in just a matter of minutes. It's a bit of a shame, as the infantry combat here is pretty fun. The buildings on each side remain relatively similar, both being one floor with accessible rooftops. Peeking into the Pax Armada spawn shows the same story as NATO's spawn, being a much more fleshed out location with proper buildings and connectors further into the map. Of all the objectives, Objective D sees the biggest transformation. Originally, it was kind of just nothing. A pedestrian overpass with a flag beneath it, and not much else going on. Now, the overpass has been removed, being replaced with a nice little shop building. This building provides defenders a good rooftop to defend against attacks from both roads, or a place to hide from the IFEs. But that's not all that's changed with this objective. There's more to be found just outside. Buildings surrounding the objective make for more meaningful combat, with windows and other angles of attack. There's another destructible archway, leading to the two roads that connect back to A. Just like in Grand Bazaar, one of these roads is slightly higher than the other. New to Cairo Bazaar are the countless cars littering the roads. These are all off to one side, so vehicles can still drive through comfortably. If only this game supported movable prop cars like Battlefield Hardline did. And finally, we dive into the center of the map at Objective C. The iconic long hall that cuts through the middle of the map is, in essence, still very close to the original. The aggressively bright and lens-flary lights have been replaced by more reasonable light sources. There's a new hole in the wall for defenders to hide in, escaping the giant line of fire. And there are the usual stores and other places inside to take cover in. Some of these places have doors, leading to the many other alleys between C and the rest of the map. For the most part, these all only see slight changes. Here's the one leading to A. Here's the one to B. Here's the big tunnel leading to the market at E. And here's the one leading back to D. And that concludes our comparison of Cairo Bazaar, the remake of Grand Bazaar from Battlefield 3. Cairo Bazaar does a great job of modernizing Grand Bazaar. It feels like an evolution rather than a rework or reimagining like Railway to Galmud. And it demonstrates how older maps can work even better in future games. But failing that, it's just cool to see a classic Battlefield map brought up to modern visual and design standards.